Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. So today we are going to continue our lecture for today in the fifth week with the topic of circulatory system. So let me present my slide. Okay. So I hope all of you can see my slide. Okay. So for this week topic we are going to study about the circulatory system. Okay. So on the previous week, we already learned about the sensory system. Okay, if you still remember, the sensory system is actually the process of convert the sensory information into the neural signals. Okay, which is we know that the senses bring the informations about the outside world into the body. Okay, so for today we are going to study about the circulatory system. So circulatory system is also known as cardiovascular system, or also we can call as a vascular system. So the circulatory system is made up of the blood vessels that carry blood away from and towards the heart. Okay, so we have three functions of the vascular system. We have the first one, we call as a transport. Okay, the second function is to coordinate, and the third function is to assist in the defenses. Okay, the first functions of the circulatory system is actually to transport the oxygens and also nutrients, to actively metabolizing the tissues, and also to remove, okay, to transport the carbon dioxide or the waste product out of the body. Okay, so the first functions of the vascular system is the transport, to transport the oxygen or nutrients, okay, and also to transport the carbon dioxide or waste product out of the body. And the second function is to help coordinate the physiological processes by transporting the signaling molecules from place to place within the body. Okay, so this is the second function of the vascular systems. And the third function is that to assist in the defenses of the body. Okay, by transporting the immune cells to the sites of invasion by the foreign organisms. Okay, okay, to transport the oxygen or nutrients, okay, and also to transport the carbon dioxide and waste product out of the body, and also the second one to help to coordinate the physiological processes of the body, and the third one to assist our body in the defenses of the defenses assist in the defenses of the body by transporting the immune cells to the sites of the inventions, okay, by the foreign organisms. Okay, so this is the three functions of circulatory system. So this is the components of the circulatory system. Okay, so we have three components that we need to understand in this system. So the circulatory system moves the fluids by increasing the pressure of the fluids in one part of the body. Then the fluid will flow through the body down the resulting pressure gradients. Okay, so one part will increase the pressure and the fluid will flows through the body with the result of the pressure gradients. So this is the three main components, okay, are needed in the process. Okay, the first one we have pump, okay, or propulsive structure. Okay, the second one we have a system of tubes or a system of channels or spaces. Okay, so we also can call as the types of circulations. Okay, so this is the second component. Then the third one is a fluid, okay, that circulates through the systems. Okay, we have blood, we have hemolymph, okay, we have different fluids that circulate through the system. So this is the three components are needed in the circulatory systems. So we go to the first component, okay, which is the different types of pump. So the circulatory system use diverse pumping structures. So we have the first one is the skeletal muscle. Okay, the structure of the skeletal muscle. So this is the skeletal muscles. So this is the pump that one-way valve will ensure the unidirectional flow. So they have a one-way valve, okay, to ensure the directional the unidirectional flow, okay, from here to here. So they use the skeletal muscles, okay, in order to pump the fluid, okay. So we have the second one is the contractile blood vessels. Okay, so this may contain valve. Okay, this may contain valve to ensure the unidirectionals. Okay, one way only, the one way of fluid. Okay, so this is also recorded as a wave of contraction. So here, okay, they have a wave of contractions. So the contractile blood vessels, or we call it as a peristaltic heart. Okay, so this is the second pump structure. So the third one is the contractile chamber, or we call as a chambered heart. So this chambered heart have one way valve that help to ensure the unidirectional flow, okay, one way flow only. So in this structure of pumping, so they increase the blood pressure in a closed chamber here, so through the contractions of their muscular walls. Okay, so they have the pressure I increase in here, so the valve in here will open. Okay, so this is the different types of pump in the circulatory systems. So we move to the second component, which is the type of circulation. So we have open and close. Okay, so this, I hope this is you're very familiar with this. So we have our open circulatory system, and also we have closed circulatory systems. So for open, the circulatory fluids come in direct contact with the tissues. Okay, in space we call as a sinuses. Okay, so this is the sinuses here. So the blood, the fluids are comes in direct contact with the tissues. Okay, in this space we call it sinuses. Okay, so this is the open circulatory system, while for the closed circulatory systems, so the circulatory fluids will remain within the blood vessels. Okay, so this is the blood vessel. So the fluids are remain within the blood vessels and does not come in direct contact with the tissue. Okay, as you can see from here, the bloods are remained within the blood vessels. Okay, so from the heart, it will pump, goes to the arteries, arterioles, capillaries, veins, veins, and return back to the heart. So the fluids are pumping around the blood vessel only. They didn't contact with the tissue, so we call as a closed circulatory systems. Okay, so this is the second component of the circulatory system, which is types of circulations. So the third one is the type of fluids. Okay, just now I mentioned about the fluids, okay, that had been pumping around the body. So the system pumps several types of fluid. Okay, for example, the interstitial fluid. We also have the blood and also lymph, and also the last one we have the hemolymph. So this interstitial fluids is the extracellular fluid that directly bath the tissues. The blood is the fluid that circulates within the closed circulatory systems. The lymph is the fluid that circulates in the secondary systems of vertebrates, or we call as a lymphatic system. In the next lecture, we will study about the lymphatic systems. Okay, and the last fluids that will be pumped in our circulatory system is the hemolymph. So the hemolymph is the fluid that circulates within an open circulatory systems. Okay. So blood is within the closed circulatory system while the hemolymph is within an open circulatory system. So we go to the evolution of the circulatory systems. So these systems at first evolved to transport the nutrients. So this is the first functions of these circulatory systems. Okay, they are evolved to transport the nutrients, and in the very early of these circulatory systems, okay, they are served as a respiratory functions. Okay, so first they are served as a respiratory functions, then they are evolved to transport the nutrients. Okay, and in the closed system, they evolve independently in joint vertebrates or cephalopods and annelids. Okay, so the closed system will evolve in combination with specialized oxygen carrier molecules. So this is the evolution of circulatory system. So this is the different needs for bulk flow. Okay, so this is the evolution of DCS. So as you can see from here, from the protists, okay. So some organism at the first they don't have the secretory systems, okay. Actually, they use the selected they use the cilia, okay, or they pump the fluids through the gastrovascular cavity by the muscle contractions, or the ciliated cells will move the interstitial fluids by bulk flow. Okay, or the in the porphyra, the water are pumped through the body cavity by beating of the flagellated cells. Okay, so this is the first the first process of the secretory systems. Then they will move to the open secretory systems. Okay, that they transport the hemolymph of the open secretory system. They transport the hemolymphs. Okay, or then they evaluate to the closed secretory system, which is they transport the blood. Okay, and also some of the organism, as you can see from here, they have open and closed circulatory system, which means some of the annelid groups they have the open circulatory system, while the rest of the annelid group they will have the closed circulatory systems. Okay, so the annelid so this group of annelid they include of the earthworm to the leech. Okay, most of the annelids groups they have the closed circulatory systems. Okay, as you remember, it is the blood. It is the blood is closed within the vessels. Okay, throughout the body, and while the other members of the annelid group, such as the leeches, they have the open circulatory system in which the fluid is not contained within the vessels. Okay, they are having the direct contact with the tissue. So this is actually the different needs of the systems. Okay, for the different types of organisms. Okay, so we move to the diversity of circulatory systems. So the first one is the animal that have lack of the circulatory systems. For example, sponges, the cynodrians, and also the flatworms. So this is the examples of the animals that have lack of circulatory systems. So they lack true circulatory system, but they also have um, other mechanisms, okay, for functioning to propel the fluids around their bodies. Okay, even though they lack of the truth system, but they have the mechanism for propelling the fluids around the body. For example, they have a cilia, or they use the muscular contractions, okay, in order to propel the fluids around their bodies. So annelids, okay, just now we were talking about the annelids. Some of them they have the open, and some of them they have a closed circulatory systems. So in these annelids, they have three main classes. Okay, the first one, actually the polychaeta. The second one we have oligochaeta, and the third one we have urodinae. So the polychaeta is a group of tube worms. The oligochaeta is a group of earthworm, while the urodinae is a group of leeches. Okay, so most also have the vessel that circulate the fluid with the oxygen carriers. Okay, and it can be open circulatory system in polychaetes, or they might be closed circulatory systems in the oligochaeta. Okay, so they are aquatic and terrestrial animals that have low metabolic rate and can live in hypoxic environments. Okay, so we look into the pumping systems of the annelids. Okay, they have a chambered heart. If you still remember, just now we are talking about the types of pumping. Okay, so the in the annelid they have the chambered heart, which is uh, these animals are increase the pressure in a closed chamber through the contractions of their muscular walls. Okay, and also beside they have a chambered heart in the pumping system, they also have the body walls movement. Okay, they also use the muscular contractions in order to move the fluids around the body, and so with the help of cilia. So this is the pumping system that they use in order to propel the fluids around the body. And for example, in earthworm, they have five segmental contractile tubes. Okay, so and also they have a segmental connective vessels. Okay, so in here, so this is the connective vessel here. So we go to this, the other examples. Molars also have the open and closed circulatory systems. So by WAF, so this is a group that sedentary and have low metabolic rates, and the other members of molars is cephalopods. They are actually have the high locomotory abilities. Okay, example the Nautilus. So the cephalopod circulatory system, they are myogenic. Okay, later on we study about the myogenic. They also have the chamber heart. Okay, so the chamber heart, and again, just now we are talking about the pumping system. And the cephalopod, they have the systematic heart pump oxygenated blood to the tissues, and they also have the pet branchial heart pump the oxygenated blood to the gills. Okay, so here, as you can see here, so the systematic the systemic heart pump the oxygenated blood to the tissue. Okay, and also the bed of branchial heart, they are pump the deoxygenated blood to the gills. Okay, to the gills here. So the cephalopods also have the coronary arteries, and also they also have the distributional arteries. Okay, so arthropods. Okay, just like talking about the annelids, molars, and this is arthropods. So all arthropods have the open circulatory system. They don't have the group of animals from arthropods that have the closed circulatory systems. All of them have the open circulatory system. For example, insects. So these insects are highly successful terrestrial animals and capable of high metabolic rates. Okay, so they have the tracheal systems that move the respiratory gases directly to the tissues. They also have the multiple and segmented hearts. Okay, as we can see from here, they have a multiple and segmented hearts. They also have the large dorsal vessel. Okay, and they also have the sluggish flow rates, which is very slow movements. Okay, of the fluid, and they also comprise of the accessory pumps. Okay, such as wing. Okay, and also limb. So here is the examples of the accessory pumping organ in the insect. So the other example of the arthropods are crustaceans. So these group of crustaceans, they are highly successful aquatic animals, and the decapods are capable of high metabolic rates. So the decapod circulatory system, they have the large osteal hearts. Okay, as you can see from this figure, they have a large osseal heart, and also they have many branching outflow vessels. Okay, and also they have a small tissue sinuses. So this is the examples of arthropods. Okay, open circulatory system. While chordates, okay, chordates, they have both open and closed circulatory system like annelids and also molars. So the vertebrates belong to the phylums of Chordata, which also contains of the invertebrates, okay, Urochordates and also Cephalochordates. So Urochordates, they have a simple tubular heart that propels the fluid through a series of well-defined channels in the tissue. Okay, so the Urochordates, the invertebrate, the Urochordates, they have the open circulatory systems, while the other invertebrates that belongs to the phylum of Chordata, which is Cephalochordates, so they are lack of obvious chambered heart. Instead of they have a long tubular hearts or contractile vessels that located at the base of their digestive tract. So these cephalochordates invertebrates, okay, they have a closed circulatory systems, okay. While the vertebrates, okay, the vertebrate that belongs to the phylum of Chordata, so this vertebrate they have a closed circulatory system, okay, which means the blood of the vertebrate groups they remains within the blood vessels at all points in it passes through the bodies. So the vertebrate they have a closed circulatory systems. Okay. So the circulatory plan of vertebrates. Okay. So vertebrate blood vessels are hollow tubular structure and consisting of a complex wall surrounding a central lumen. Okay. Now we are talking about this circulatory plan of vertebrate. Okay. The blood vessel, they are hollow tubular structure and also they are consisting of complex walls surrounding a central lumen. So the wall we are talking about this, they compose up to 3 layers. Okay, they can be up to 3 layers. Okay, the wall that include in the vertebrate circulatory plan. The first one we have tunica intima, or we also can call as the tunica interna. Okay, so it consists inner lining, okay, or vascular endotheliums. Okay, this is actually inner lining, the intima, okay, or interna. Okay, so the second layer of the wall is tunica media, the medium, the media. So the tunica media, it is a smooth muscle and sheet of extracellular matrix protein elastin. Okay, so the third layers of the wall is actually tunica externa, or we also can call as the tunica adventitia. Okay, so this tunica externa is largely of collagen fibers that support the reinforcement of the blood vessels. So this is the 3 layers of the walls, okay, of the blood vessels in the vertebrates. So as you can see from here, so the outer part, outer layer is the tunica externa. So here is the tunica media, and here is the tunica interna, and here this is the endotheliums. Okay, so this is the blood vessels of the large veins. Okay, so this is the blood vessel of vein. So they have the external tunica externa, tunica media, so tunica intima and endotheliums. While the venules, okay, the blood vessel of the venule, they only consist of the tunica externa and endotheliums. Okay, while the capillary, the blood capillary, they only contain of the endotheliums. Okay, so in here the arteriole, so they only consist of the tunica media. Okay, while the muscular artery and also the elastic artery, they consist of all the structure of the walls, all the structure of the walls of the blood vessel, which is tunica externa, tunica media, tunica interna, and also endothelium. Okay, now we are talking about the variation in capillary structure. Okay, so we have 3 variation in capillary structure. Okay, this is okay, so the just now here, see we are talking about this, okay, only capillary. Okay, so the variation of capillary structure. Okay, as you already know that they are lack of tunica media and tunica externa. Okay, so the walls of the capillary. Okay, walls are buried amongst the capillary. So here we have three capillary. The variation of the capillary. The first one is continuous. The continuous is the continuous capillary. So it's actually contain of the cells which are held together by the tight junctions. Okay, so this is the tight junctions. Okay, so they are comprised of the cells that are held together by the tight junctions, and this continuous capillary can be found in skin and muscles. Okay, while the fenestrated capillary, the cells are contains of pores. Okay, as you can see from here, the contains of pores and which specialize for exchange of any fluid. Okay, and these types of capillary, the fenestrated capillary, can be found in the kidneys, endocrine organs, and also the intestine. Okay, while the third variation of capillary structure is sinusoidal. Okay, the sinusoidal capillary, they have the cells are held together by fewer tight junction. They are still held by the tight junctions, but they have a fewer tight junctions compared to the continuous capillary, and they are most porous for exchange of the large proteins. Okay, compared to the fenestrated capillary. Okay, they have a uh, bigger pores, okay, for inches of the large protein. And this type of the sinusoidal capillary can be found in liver and also bone marrow. Okay, so the vertebrate circulatory systems contain one or more pumps in series. Okay, so air breathing evolved several times in fishes. Okay, we are talking about fishes. So the air breathing evolved several times in fishes. So air breathing organs are arranged in parallels. Okay, so the oxygenated and the deoxygenated bloods are mixed together. Okay, so you can see from this figure, all the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are mixed around of the blood vessels. Okay, while lungfish are the most specialized air breathing fishes, and they have only limited mixing of the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Okay, as you can see from this figure. So lungfish, actually, they have a true lung developmentally. Okay, so the lungfish largely solve the problem of mixed venous blood. Okay, compared to the everything fish. So they have the atrium that has a partial septum. Okay, so the oxygenated on one side, and the other sides they have the oxygenated blood. Okay, so the lungfish also comprise of the ventrals. Okay, that has a partial septum to separate, so the separations can be maintained. Okay, and they also have the outflow vessels that has a partial septum. Okay, so this also can maintain the separations of the deoxygenated and the oxygenated blood. Okay, so this is the evolution of the everything in the lungfish. So we are talking about the amphibians and reptile. Okay, so like lungfish, the heart of amphibians and reptiles is only partially divided. Okay, they have two atria and one ventricles. So the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood also can be mixed. Okay, so they have two streams of blood that kept fairly separate, although the mechanism is not completely understood. Okay, they have two streams, and the groups of crocodilians. Okay, for example, that include of the crocodile, alligators, or caimans. Okay, this group have a completely divided ventricles. Okay, so as you can see from this example, we have frog and lizard here. So they have partially divided of atria and ventricles. Okay, which is from the heart, the oxygenated blood uh, pumping through the aorta, to the tissues. Okay, while the oxygenated blood they are pumping through the lung and skin. Okay, so they will have some mixing of the oxygenated and the oxygenated blood. Okay, the same goes to the lizards. Okay, so we move to the anatomy of the chambered heart. Okay, so for all vertebrates, they have a similar developmental pathway. Okay, they also have the myogenic contractions. Later we study about the in the next topic. We are studying about the myogenic contractions. And all the vertebrates they have a similar intrinsic properties. Okay, of the chambered heart. And in the fish, okay, which is the organism that have the simplest or earliest design of PCS, so they have four cardiac chambers, and all the fish they contain of the muscle, which is cardiac muscle and smooth muscles. Okay, and it are surrounded by a pericardial sac, and also they have the atrium and ventricles. Okay, in order for them to propel the blood throughout the body, which is from the venous blood pressure. They also have the atrial contractions and ventricular contractions, okay, for them to propel all the fluids of blood throughout the body. And we also have the variation in here. For example, hagfishes they have incomplete pericardial sacs. Okay, sharks and rays they have pericardial sacs. The pericardial sacs is stiff. Okay, conus arteriosus has cardiac muscles. The other examples are the primitive fishes. The conus is reduced and the bulbous also present. And the last examples, the teleos organisms, okay, teleos groups, they have the bulbous arteriosus, okay, which is they have the venous blood pressure and also they have the elastic fibers. Okay, so we move to the other subtopic, which is heart. So the cardiac cycles, which is actions in the pumping of the heart. Okay, so in the heart they have two phases of pumping, which is systole and also diastole. So systole is contractions, okay, which is the blood is forced out into the circulations, and diastole is relations, which is the blood that enters the heart. Okay, so in here, the osseous heart sits in the pericardial sacs. Okay, just now we are talking about the pericardial sacs. Okay, so the osseous heart sits in the pericardial sacs that contain of the hemolymph. Okay, so the cardiac cycle. So the cardiac muscle will contract in unison and ejecting the hemolymph into the arteries and stretching suspensory ligaments. Okay, so we call as a systole, we call it the systole phase, okay, which is contractions and the blood is forced out into the circulatory systems. Okay, so as you can see from here, cardiac muscle contract is unison, so it will ejecting the hemolymph into the arteries, okay, and stretching the suspensory ligament. While in the distal phase, okay, of the cardiac cycle. So the cardiac muscle will relax and recoil of the sensory ligament expand here, expand the heart chamber, and it withdrawing the hemolymph from sinus via the ostia. Okay, it will drawing the hemolymph from the sinus via the ostia into the heart. So we call as a distal phase, okay, of the cardiac cycle, which is in this distal phase, it is a relations mode. So the blood will enter the heart. Okay, so this is the cardiac cycle. So we're talking about the cardiac controls. So the cardiac controls by the neurogenic. Okay, so the CNS, the central nervous systems, we control the heart rate and also we force off contractions, okay, the stroke volumes, and the neural controls of the atrial pinches. Okay, so this is in the terms of cardiac control. Okay, so we are looking into that in the systole phase. Okay, So the heartbeat is initiated in the neurons of the cardiac ganglion. We call it as the neurogenic heart. So this is the cardiac controls. Okay. So the neural signal closes the ostia. Okay, the ostia will close and cause the cardiomyocytes to contract. So the volume of the heart chamber, okay, the volume of the heart chamber will decrease and pressure in here will increase. Okay, will increase. So the volume of the heart chamber will decrease and the pressure will increase. So the blood will exit via the arteries. Okay, and the suspensory ligaments are stretched. Okay, so this is we call as the systole phase. Okay, the cardiac the cardiac cycles. Okay, so this is the cardiac control here. So in the systole phase. So in the diastole phase, okay, so in the diastole phase, so when the neural signal is absent, okay, there is no control, okay, there is no cardiac control, so the neural signal is absent, so the cardiomyocytes will relax, okay, so it will release tensions on the suspensory ligament. So this is the suspensory ligament, so it will release the tension here. So the ligaments will spring back and pull on the walls of the heart, okay, and pull on the walls of the heart that will increase the volume of the heart chamber. So it will reduce the pressure inside the heart. So the ostia here will open and the blood is sucked into the through the ostia into the heart. Okay, so this is the cardiac cycle in the diastole phase. Okay, so that's all for today. Okay, in the next class, we will study about the vertebrate heart. Okay, we will continue about the vertebrate heart. Okay, thank you guys for your cooperation. Okay, of attending to this class. So I will stop here and we'll continue in the next class with the same topic of circulatory system. Okay, thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.